Common fractions. There are some fractions that come up again and again when you're solving problems in all levels of math. So some of those, well, let's start with the most common fraction. The most common fraction is, of course, 1/2. You should be able to recognize 1/2 in all of its forms, and that would also mean 2/4 or 3/6. Anytime the top number is half the bottom, you're looking at 1/2. So the decimal for that is something that you should also know and recognize right away. Another common fraction is 1/3. Actually, both of the thirds, 1/3 and 2/3. 1/3 is 0.3 repeating. So it makes sense that if you double that, it would be 0.6 repeating. If you have to convert these to percents, remember, you always just move the decimal 2 to the right. But for this lesson, we're just looking at common fractions that you really need to know the decimal equivalents for. So the next one in the lineup would be the fourths, right? So the fourths, we've got 1/4, 2/4, which is 1/2, so we'll skip that one, and 3/4. 1/4, everyone probably knows this one because it's, a quarter of a dollar, or 0.25, and 3/4 is triple that, so 0.75. Then we've got the fifths, and for the fifths, there's a lot of them, right? Because we've got 1/5, 2/5, 3/5, and 4/5, and none of those can be written in a more simplified form, right? They are already simplified. So to write these as decimals, 1/5 is 0.2, double that to get 0.4, triple it to get 0.6, and multiply by 4 to get 0.8, right? So you already know how to convert those to percent. So if you don't know how to do that, check out my video for converting fractions, decimals, and percents. Then sixths are not that common. Neither are sevenths. So although I showed them on the graphic for the intro for this video, we don't really need to have those committed to memory. But the eighths, we should have committed to memory because they come up a lot. So let's look at the eighths. We've got 1/8. I'm not going to write 2/8. And the reason I'm not going to write 2/8 is because 2/8 is the same as 1/4. We already looked at that one. 3/8. I'm not going to write 4/8. You know why, right? 4/8 is the same as 1/2. I am going to write 5/8. Not going to write 6/8 because it's the same as 3/4, but I am going to write 7/8. So 1/8 is 0.125. So if I triple that, I get 0.375. If I multiply 0.125 by 5, I get 0.625. And if I multiply 0.125 by 7, I get 0.875. Then, of course, there's the ninths, right? So actually, I'll make a little separate little section down here for the ninths. So for the ninths, it's really easy because you just repeat the number that's in the numerator. So for example, 1/9 is 0.1 repeating. And 2/9 is 0.2 repeating. Right? 3/9 is the same as 1/3, which is 0.3 repeating, right? So I'm not going to write out all of the ninths, but it is helpful to know those two. Just remember 4/9 would be 0.4 repeating, 5/9 would be 0.5 repeating. They all follow this same pattern of whatever number is on top is the value that's repeated in the decimal. And then lastly, we've got tenths, right? But tenths, you should all know because it's just the decimal value, right? That first decimal value in the place value system. So 1/10, 0.1, 2/10, 0.2, 3/10. So let me write the first few. So 1/10 is 0.1, 2/10. Actually, we've already written it. It's the same as 1/5, right? 3/10, 0.3. So the ninths and the tenths that I wrote down here at the bottom are actually very similar. They're almost the same, except for the ninths repeat, right? So 1/10 is 0.1, 1/9 is 0.1 repeating. 2/10 is 0.2, 2/9 is 0.2 repeating. So these are the common fractions for which you should know, have committed to memory, the decimal equivalents.